Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Freedom Radio Hour. I'm your host, DJ Adam Cruz, and we're live and direct right here on Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, and on the web at freedomradiohour.com. I want to take this time to thank you so much for liking, sharing, commenting, and letting everybody know all about the Freedom Radio Hour. We're your number one source for music business news and trends from around the globe. Make it your business to check out our free app, our website at freedomradiohour.com, our YouTube channel, and all that good stuff. You know, we have podcasts out wherever you get your podcasts, including iTunes and Spotify. So if you click on it and you leave a review, it helps us get featured. So thank you for rating us and reviewing us. All right, let's get down to it. There was a really huge story years ago that we thought we had said goodbye to as we near 2020 and 2021, but it looks like it's come back again. And I think it's a really important story that we need to cover. Let me give you some of the timeline. On March 26, 2013, Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams released their hit song, Blurred Lines. There was a huge video that came out. It was quite controversial. It featured scantily clad models, good times and all that. And it opened the floodgates for a lot of debates, especially as it neared the Me Too movement. It changed the context and the feel of that song. But either way, March 26, 23, it was released and it became a huge, huge chart topper of a song. And you know, with the Pharrell Williams style that he produces with, it really lent itself well to the Robin Thicke style. Robin Thicke gave a falsetto vocal, and then Pharrell with his syncopated beats, it lent itself to a 1977 record entitled Got to Give It Up by Marvin Gaye. At the time, we saw a lot of back and forth around this particular issue. What issue am I talking about? Of course, we're talking about Marvin Gaye's Got to Give It Up versus Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams' song entitled Blurred Lines. What's the big problem? Well, soon after that release in 2013, the estate of Marvin Gaye drafted a lawsuit alleging that Blurred Lines is a complete copyright infringement of Got to Give It Up. They went to court and it took 2 years for the courts to decide. And essentially what they decided was the estate of Marvin Gaye is correct. This is copyright infringement, even though during sworn testimony, Pharrell Williams said, look, I didn't go in the studio to copy Got to Give It Up or anything like that. Yes, I was inspired by music of that era, including songs like that, but I didn't copyright infringe on that song. I didn't sample it, nor did I hear it and try to emulate it. It really was a feel that I was trying to give this song, Blurred Lines. And now the estate of Marvin Gaye is alleging that they engaged in plagiarism in the form of copyright infringement. Well, 2015, the judge rules in favor of the estate of Marvin Gaye, and they leave Pharrell Williams and Robin Thicke's folks to pay $5 million in damages. Also, what was really interesting is the court also decided that in perpetuity, meaning forever, that the estate of Marvin Gaye will enjoy a running royalty rate, 50% in fact, of that song, Blurred Lines. So forever, that estate will enjoy the royalty at half. So that's a huge, huge judgment. And there were over 200 musicians at the time, including Jennifer Hudson and others, that were really on the side of Pharrell Williams, because when you take it out of the court system this way, you realize what happened is this opens the floodgates for inspiration being misconstrued or confused with copyright infringement. So right now we're in an era where essentially nothing is new, right? And so all we have are emulations or inspirations from music from our past. So this presents a really huge problem when you're trying to create music and you don't even realize at half the time that what you're creating has already been created in a previous setting. And those musicians at the time of that ruling in 2015 were really saying, you guys don't know what you're doing. at the court level. You don't have musicologists or music experts that are savvy around the nuances around copyright infringement to really adjudicate this. You're giving it to federal judges who look at it from that perspective. They don't understand that specific expertise that is needed. But anyway, they were right, those musicians, to have this outcry, because now we fast forward and there are several cases right now that really are claiming copyright infringement, not only of music composition, but also of lyrics, syllables, and little oohs and ahs now someone else is claiming. In previous episodes, we talked about Katy Perry. We've talked about Taylor Swift. We talked about other artists that are in litigation. Lizzo, our newest artist, is in litigation right now, fighting claims of copyright infringement because every ooh, ah, or I-I-E is derived from something else. So all this to say that the estate of Marvin Gaye, just now, as we near the winter time, has filed a brand new lawsuit against Pharrell Williams. Let's take a break. When we come back on the Freedom Radio Hour, we'll break down all of the details about why they're suing them again, right here at Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, and on the web at freedomradiohour.com. Come back.
From author and music industry leader Adam Cruz, check out the new book, Free the Music Business, Tips and Tales from an Indie Music Nerd, available now on paperback, Kindle, audiobook, and soundtrack, courtesy of Mixtape Sessions.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
And we're back live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM and on the web at freedomradiohour.com. I'm your host, Adam Cruz, and we're live and direct, giving you the #1 source for music business news and trends from around the globe. Let's jump right back in. In our last segment, we were talking about the estate of Marvin Gaye and the backstory around the Blurred Lines case. Well, now that we're nearing 2019, 2020, and 2021, we thought this case was over, but it's come back. You see, what happened was this. On November 4th, 2019, Pharrell Williams and a rock pioneer, Rick Rubin, had an interview. Pharrell participated and Rick Rubin was the host. So during the course of the interview, this came out on GQ magazine, by the way, they were talking back and forth, and they started to go down the road talking about Pharrell's creative process. And as you can tell, as an artist, we love to talk about the process by which we created our songs. I know I personally love to be asked those kinds of questions because it means that you're interested in more than just the sort of superficial nature of things. You want to get a little bit more deep, right? So during the course of the interview, Pharrell starts to break down his hit records. The man has had a lot of hit records over the years, as you can imagine. He's talking about records like Happy and others, and he gets to Blurred Lines. During the course of the interview, he shares that he has a pattern of working where he reverse engineers songs that he loves to try to emulate it and create his own style. Now, this is very interesting when this came out, this GQ interview, because during the course of the interview, not only did he say that, but he said, quote, "I got myself in trouble doing that with the Blurred Lines song." So the estate of Marvin Gaye took notice of that interview and filed a lawsuit against Pharrell Williams alleging perjury. You see, remember in our last segment, we talked about during the court proceedings, Pharrell talked about his creative process, but specifically indicated that he didn't copy or copyright infringe on the 1977 song, "Got to Give It Up" by Marvin Gaye. He said, yeah, I was inspired by songs like that from that era, and yes, I was trying to give that feel. I was inspired, but I didn't copyright infringe. And at the time, more than 200 musicians, Jennifer Hudson and others, came together having the back of Pharrell Williams and Robin Thicke around this case because they feel and they allege that this will then open the floodgates for other court proceedings, other lawsuits to be generated alleging the same thing, copyright infringement, when in fact it is inspiration. And they were right. When you fast forward time, you see there are cases being adjudicated right now. I talked about in prior episodes Lizzo and her song Juicy. I talked about Taylor Swift. All the syllabic, the little phrases that these artists come up with in this day and age is being adjudicated in the court system because someone else is claiming that they came up with that said syllable phrasing or whatever it is. So they were right, those musicians at the time. And the 2015 verdict really, these artists feel that it really curtails creativity. And now you can't be inspired because you're going to be in the court system and someone's going to allege copyright infringement based on what you've created. And I think there is some truth to that because the truth is that in this day and age, whatever you create, even if it's off the dome, like you think you're just being creative, and in that moment, you have no idea that somebody else created it. There was a Ting Tangs album. I love Ting Tings rather. I love them. The album was called Nothing's Original or something like that. And I couldn't agree more because really nothing is original anymore. Everything you create, someone else created before you. It's just the nature of things. It's not that we've run out of ideas. It's just, I think we're only dealing with a certain number of keys, right, on the piano. So a certain number of chord structures, a certain number of, melodies that you can come up with. And it's only natural that these things start to repeat itself. And so when you adjudicate them in the court system, framing it as copyright infringement, it creates a huge problem. And these musicians also made the point that we don't rely on musicologists or music experts that can understand the nuances around copyright. And in these cases, we're leaving it just to federal judges that are adjudicating this case amongst a myriad of other cases that have nothing to do with each other. And you need expertise to really fine-tune judgments around these things. So I think that was a really important thing. But back to the Pharrell case, it's a real problem. When you participate in media and publications and interviews, you got to make sure that you don't perjure yourself if you have court cases pending, because these things will come back again. And the estate may have a case. And like I told you before, they enjoy 50% of the running royalties of Blurred Lines. And as a result of this perjury this allegation, if it works in their favor, they could stand to have even more of the percentage of the royalty going forward in perpetuity. So I think that's really important to talk about because this will change not only this case, but other cases will be relitigated, like Led Zeppelin. We talked about the Stairway to Heaven case and how someone claims that they created much of the guitar riff that we hear at the beginning of Stairway to Heaven. And so on and on and on we go because someone else is going to claim that they created something before you did. So we have to be very careful and pay close attention to these stories because they impact you and I as artists, DJs, producers, or artist lovers and art lovers and music lovers. Anyway, let's take a break. When we come back, let's break down all of the goings on around three big trends in the years to come. One is around this copyright infringement problem that I just talked about, and the second is around data breaches and data leaks. I'll give you all the details when we get back. Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, and on the web at freedomradiohour.com. Come back.
From author and music industry leader Adam Cruz, check out the new book, Free the Music Business, Tips and Tales from an Indie Music Nerd. Available now on paperback, Kindle, audiobook, and soundtrack, courtesy of Mixtape Sessions.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
And we're back live on the Freedom Radio Hour, your number one source for music business news and trends from around the globe. You're deep in the zone right here, and I'm your host, Adam Cruz. We're live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, and on the web at freedomradiohour.com. Let's get back to it. So 3 big trends I want you guys to pay attention to in the coming years. The first we talked about was this inspiration versus copyright infringement case. It's debate. It's not going to go anywhere. It's going to come back, and you'll see it in years to come. More cases where they're arguing this very issue. Did you copyright infringe? Did you sample this? No? Were you inspired? All right, we got to adjudicate this. And And cases like the Marvin Gaye case will be looked at as an example going forward. So that's number one. Number two, I think we should pay attention to the data leaks and the data breaches that have been occurring. You know, you really can't watch the news, read the news, listen to the news without data breaching coming up in some way. Most recently, remember Mark Zuckerberg had to go before Congress and testify around their practices regarding information being disseminated, who pays for what, and whether Facebook has a role in what is disseminated on the web, and should they be allowing straight up lies to be disseminated out by politicians if it's in fact a lie. These things will come into play, but in particular, Mark Zuckerberg also had to deal with the data leaks that have been occurring on Facebook. He's had to admit that, yeah, hundreds and millions and thousands, I'm giving you all the denominations mixed up because it feels very mixed up, that all of our information is essentially available on the dark web right now for sale. When our information gets hacked, or these accounts that we participate in get hacked, all of our data, our emails, our usernames, our passwords, our habits, our behaviors are all shared and sold on the dark web to the highest bidder. So who's interested in buying this information? As you can imagine, lots of people, in particular companies that wish to market to you, target to you, or want to manipulate your own accounts in some way. When you look at targeted advertisement, you look at targeted marketing, you got to consider how much of your data is being shared beyond what you've okayed. When you click on that terms and conditions, you already are giving the okay for these companies to exploit your information. But what you don't okay are leaks, privacy leaks that have been happening. Well, of course, it's come to pass in the music game, in particular Mixcloud. If you're a DJ like me, you have mixes like I do of the Freedom Radio Hour and of Mixtape Sessions, the Masterclass, up on Mixcloud. And for a long time, it's been a great platform for DJs like me for free to upload information and share it with others, including playlists, images, etc. So Mixcloud has had to explain how their 21 million users of information got leaked and has been disseminated on the dark web. It's currently up for sale. It's really, really crazy how this leak happened, but evidently a publication named TechCrunch got a hold of the data and was able to verify it against the sign-in feature on Mixcloud. And what they found was there was indeed a correlation, meaning that this data has been authenticated and verified, and yep, your information is being sold on the dark web if you have participated in the Mixcloud platform like I have. So I assume that between Facebook and Mixcloud, my information's already been shared and sold on in terms of the dark web. And it's very scary. I don't mean to sound so lighthearted about it, but I want to be clear of the time that we're living in. The other story that's happened is Soundcloud has been trying to switch up their free model. You know, for Soundcloud, like Mixcloud, DJs like me love it because we can upload mashups, taking two different songs, putting them together, and we upload it and share it to our friends and family and followers. You've seen artists like Juicy WRLD that have come up through the SoundCloud app exchange because there's quite a community that has come up from that. SoundCloud, though, really tried to test the waters with their free model and said, okay, we're switching things up for the new year. We want to be able to expand a bit. And so we're offering free still, but free up to 3 hours or 15 songs. So you go, wait a minute, that sounds strange. So if you're an artist and you're putting up 15 songs, for a lot of these particular rap artists, for example, 15 songs is nothing because they develop a lot of songs, 50 or more. And so when you limit that and switch them to pay, you're forcing that free platform to be pay, and artists are in an uproar. So SoundCloud had to backpedal and say, okay, never mind. You guys can still rock with the free account just like you had before. We heard you and we're switching up our opinion. But why am I giving you these three different stories? I want you to understand the trends that are to come. So one is that inspiration versus copyright infringement debate. The second is all about data leaks and how your information is being sold on and how you'll be targeted and marketed in a very specific way. And you'll feel like you're being gaslit. And it's because your private information is being shared and marketed back to you. So pay attention to the products and things you mention in your exchanges and how that product will be marketed back to you in the future. The third thing is how companies like Soundcloud and others will start to test the waters around freemium, that free model that's been a permeation of the market for a while. They're going to start to switch that up. You're going to see other companies test it out and say, well, maybe we'll take it back and then things are no longer free, or maybe it's only half free. And you'll see different reactions to that to come. And I think that's going to be really, really telling, because it'll change consumer habits and platforms that become popularized over time. Anyway, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Freedom Radio Hour. Make it your business to download our app. Check out our podcast on iTunes and Spotify and everywhere you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review so that we could get featured. And also check out our YouTube channel. Check out EddieNicholas.com for all of his fantastic music. Check out DJAdamCruz.com for all of mine. And have a great weekend and a great week ahead. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.